we're going to do a story time. Why not? Although this story time, chaps, is not going to be like the other ones. If you've not seen the other ones, go and check them out. They're pretty amusing. Sure I'll get a few laughs out of you, that's for sure. Well, this one's a serious one. I've been putting this one off for a while now, but I think it's time to deal with it. So stick around for this one, chaps, and fasten your seatbelt as well. It's not going to be pretty, this one. Oh no. So King D, back with another one, and this video is called Storytime Episode 4, Beware the Narcissist. Now the term narcissist gets thrown around left, right and centre now, and it's pretty much lost all meaning. Well, I'll tell you now, there's some deadly evil people out there that are very narcissistic. And I mean, we've all got narcissistic traits. I have, of course I have. I've got a YouTube channel. But I don't have a narcissistic personality disorder. Now that is a different kettle of fish. And I didn't know anything about it until later, and I wish I knew sooner. So I'll start with the beginning anyway, and well, it was all sunshine and roses to start with. So I meet this girl on a dating app. I think, she's nice to look at. I wonder if she's a nice person. So we meet up, and it was a nice day. It was a good laugh, and we had a good laugh and joke. And I thought, I want to see her again. So we arranged another date, and sure enough, she was very nice. But she said from the beginning, now this is the interesting part, she said, I don't want a relationship. I'm just looking for friendship. Now, me being me, I saw that as a challenge. Challenge accepted, duck. We'll see about friendship. And that was my first mistake. So it was an interesting one. We were seeing each other, having a good time, and she was messaging me a lot. A hell of a lot. And we was having a lot of back and forth, and we were learning each other, and she was learning me. And it was chill, because it was like, well, I like a company. If it doesn't amount to anything, I'm not really that bothered. You know what I mean? There's plenty other fish in the sea. But I enjoyed the different change of pace. You know what I mean? It felt very natural, because I'm not trying to entertain her. We're building a friendship. And I thought, that's a good start. Do you know what I mean? Build a friendship and see if it progresses into anything else. And if it doesn't, I'll cut my losses. See you in a bit, doke. That was the plan anyway. So yeah, very frequent text messages all the time, back and forth. She was there all the time. You get kind of used to it as well. And she was figuring me out. What makes me tick? What are my hopes and dreams? What are my fears and insecurities? And little did I know what was happening, but we'll get to that later. And then out the blue, one day, she laid it on thick. She was like, I think you're amazing. And she was showering me with affection and compliments and all this, that and the other. And I was like, mission accomplished. I knew I'd crack that. I knew I'd crack that nut eventually. And sure enough, I did. And she was gushing with emotion. And I was like, wow. For somebody so arm's length sort of person to begin with, it was amazing to see how much she could just really open, and how comfortable she was with me, that she could just let it all out and make me feel good. So I later learned this is called love bombing, which we'll talk more on later. So I'm being love bombed, and she's like, I want to be with you, and I'm like, I want to be with you too. And it was magic. It was wonderful. Fireworks and magic and sparks and all that lovey soppy shit. And I was blown away. I was like, wow, I've never had somebody give me as much affection as she did. Like, she loved with every inch of her body, and she loved every inch of my body. Every inch. And that was another thing as well. I mean, if she wasn't giving me a back massage, she was sucking my dick. And it got to the point when she was she was tugging on the old heartstrings. She was struggling financially, and she was going through something. Right. So this one's key as well. A big factor for me is that I struggled to see my child at one time, for a long time, and in the end it was better to give up in a way than it was to keep going for the sake of my child. A lot of sleepless nights over this, a lot. And in fact, I'm almost don't want to talk about this, but I think it's important just for me to be as open as I possibly can to you guys, to know what the score is, and if I'm transparent with you, then it's more real, and you can understand. You know, I'm just a man. I have flaws, imperfections, you name it. I'm not perfect, not by a long stretch. And so I've always said, starting doing this YouTube, that I was going to be as real as I possibly can, and as honest as I can, even when I don't really want to be, because it's going to help more, I think. And this is one of them moments that is me being uncomfortably honest. So yeah, I didn't get to see my daughter for a long time, and I wasn't seeing my daughter during this time either, and it had been a while, and it was easier for me, well, better for my daughter, for me to stop trying, because it was affecting her. It was the whole, I'm in her life, I'm not, I'm in her life, I'm not, and it was easier, it was better for me to pull back and think, I need to stop trying, because the more I'm trying, the more it's hurting her, and the more it was hurting me. It was a lot of sleepless nights, and it still was, even years later. Constantly thinking to myself, did I make the right decision? Am I doing the right thing for her? Well, she was going through something similar. With her ex-partner, she had a child, and he kidnapped her child. She was originally from Poland, and he kidnapped the child and moved back to Poland with the kid, leaving her on her own in England. So of course, her unveiling this to me, that hits a whole new level. You're going to tug on my heartstrings, that's the way to do it. So a part of me was very much like, it's kind of like my redemption. If I can help her through this, I feel like I'm redeeming myself for any part of me that felt like I could have done more, or I should still be trying. Even though logic was, I need to stop trying because it was making the situation worse. And I knew that, my daughter was being looked after and that she was happy and healthy. And that was the main thing. Whether I missed her or not, that was irrelevant, really. The main thing was she was happy and healthy. And I think being messed about, seeing me and not seeing me would have, well, I knew from speaking to people that was affecting her back when it was happening. So in a way, this was kind of my redemption. I could help her, and she was saying she needs the money to help be able to get to Poland, go to court and get her child back. So of course, to me, that was a very worthy cause to fight for, and I want to help her. And she's like, will you move in with me? It'll help with my bills and I can save more money and things like that. And I was struggling a bit financially because the amount I was paying for CSA, child maintenance for my kids. It's a lot of money. I mean, they don't take into consideration a man's outgoings. And I had a house on my own to pay for all the bills when I've got a big chunk of that out of my wages gone paying for the kids, which never have I had an issue paying. I'm happy to pay. I should pay, and I will pay, and I want to pay. But that left me with fuck all, so I was really struggling. I've always paid for my kids, and always will. But yeah, times were very hard. So in part of my mind, I was like, it would be nice to split the bills. To be fair, even though she lived quite far away from where I was working, it was going to be a bit of a trek. But I thought it outweighed, weighing it up, I thought makes sense. And of course, like I said, she was giving me a back massage and sucking me dick every chance she got. So I'm like, of course I'll move in with you. So I did. But of course, I was having my other kids every weekend. And I wasn't ready for her to meet them. And thank fuck she never did. But we'll get to it later. So my brother was happy enough for me to stay at his on weekends when I had my kids. So I kept that part of my life away from her. Because it was still relatively early days. I mean, we've been seeing each other about 4 or 5 months. And to me, you never really know somebody. And I'm very careful when it comes to my kids and introducing people into their lives. So I thought that's how we'll play it. And, you know, I thought it's going to be bang on. Because she was an angel, absolute angel. Like I said, the amount of affection she gave me and constantly showering me with compliments and affection and love and all these nice things. Love bombing. So I move in, and for the first week, it's bang on, it's great. I'm thinking, I think I've hit the jackpot here. She's the one for me. She's definitely the one for me. But then a week later, and then suddenly she starts being a bit of a pain, a bit bitchy and a bit off. And I'm thinking, and I said to her there and then, I said, look, I know I've only just moved in, but I'm not putting up with bullshit. I said, I've had that before, and I swore to myself I'd never put up with any more bullshit. So put your ideas up, or I'm fucking off. And she'd turn around and go, well, I'm depressed because I miss my son. And I'm thinking, yeah, she's got a point. I get it. I've been there myself. And, you know, instantly I'm putting myself in her shoes, having gone through it and going through it myself. And I'm like, fair enough, let her off the hook. She's not having a good time. So I let it slide. Another week passes, and then it just gradually a little more every time. You know, she'd just push me buttons a little bit more, or just up it a little bit more. And again, you know, she'd overstep, and I'm like, look, I know you're depressed. I've been depressed. I never act like an arsehole, so can we pack it in? Because I'm not putting up with this shit. And it just went on like that for a while, and then it got to the point when I was like, I have had enough of this shit, I'm going. And then it was, if you leave, I'm going to kill myself because I've got nobody else. You're all I've got. So of course, my hands are tied now because I care about her, and I want her to be happy, and I want her to be, well, I want her to have a son back. So I'm thinking, oh, this is a tough decision now because life's getting difficult living with her, and it's draining me, draining the life out of me. She's getting nasty. Whereas, you know, she was sweet as pie before. Now this sweet angel, she's just a glimmer of that every once in a while. So, yeah, I was in a bit of a predicament there. I'm thinking, what do I do? And it'd be back and forth. I'd disappear. I'm like, right, I'm done. Or I'd say to her, look, I need a break from you. I need some space to recharge, because, and I've said this before several times, the relationship felt like I'm this cup, right? And my cup's full. She's got this cup here and it's empty. But not only is it empty, it's got a fucking hole in the bottom of it, right? So constantly I'm filling her cup. And it doesn't matter how much I fill this cup, it's going to be fucking empty eventually, because there's a hole in it. And that's the perfect way to sum up what most of the relationship was. And of course, when I'm filling her up with my energy, my positivity, my whatever you want to call it, I'm draining myself. She's literally draining me like a vampire. And that's how it felt. And, you know, I was a shell of who I was, because I was just giving her everything. And I was pretty much doing everything by this stage. I was looking after her. I was doing as much as I possibly could. And she knew that being an arsehole wasn't going to work with me, that I wouldn't put up with that. But what she also knew is that my empathy would be my downfall, and she'd use that as a weapon. That if she mentioned suicide or wanting to hurt herself or anything like that, or woe is me, I miss my son, any of these things, I was going to feel sorry for her and want to fix it and want to change and want to just power through, thinking, back of my mind, it was like, I'll put up with this bullshit, because when she does get her son, she's going to be back to how she was before, that sweet golden angel. And, you know, life's going to be sweet. So just grin and bear, we can do this and we'll get there. But then the bullshit never fucking ends, and it gets worse and worse, to the point where she's trying to kick me head in all the time. And, you know, there'll be bottles flying and I'm just ducking and diving. And this sounds daft, I mean, the size of her compared to me, you know what I mean? But even, I'd dated women after that, and they'd put the hand out and I'd flinch, I'd be ready, I'd be on guard, like I've got to duck and dive and this, that and the other. It's crazy how these things sort of affect you. But it was constantly jab, I mean, she never really hit me. I mean, luckily I'm quick. And she was a boxer at that as well. She would be, wouldn't she? And another thing as well, I mean, her, all this showering me with compliments and praise and lifting me up so high. I mean, early on I felt like a king, like she'd made me this king, and I was walking on the clouds. I felt so good. But the issue with that is, after a while, and I think whether this is intentional or not, or just a symptom of this kind of person, or it's purposeful, which, I mean, either way I wouldn't be surprised. Either it's just a unfortunate coincidence that this is how it plays out, or it's very calculated, which wouldn't surprise me either. So the issue is, when they're feeding you with all this praise and they're building you up constantly, you start becoming reliant on it. Now, I was pretty reliant before that, where I was like, you know, I can make myself feel good. But you get that reliant on it, where she's constantly, it becomes like a drug. So she's feeding you this feel good all the time. Oh, you're amazing. Oh, this, that, and the other. And there's sex all the time, and you're thinking, fucking hell. And you think, this is great, you know what I mean? So she starts drip feeding me that now, and now it's just like, it's like that carrot on a stick. So every now and then she'll be like all over me like a rash, and I'm like, oh, she's back. Keeps me invested, keeps me in the game. And then next day she's an arsehole again. She's trying to cave me head in or poison me or whatever else she was doing. Killing me bird. All sorts. And another thing she was doing as well, she was trying to isolate me. She was very careful, where she wanted me all for herself. If I wasn't at work, I had to be with her. And then she was trying to pull me away from my work all the time as well. And then she'd do things like where it made me think she was dead. And it got to the point where I was forever coming home expecting to see a dead body. I thought, I think she's dead. That was brutal, do you know what I mean? Thinking, I failed, she's gone and done it, she's killed herself. And come home every time, she was at work or she was alive. And another thing, we were watching Game of Thrones together, and she was started watching it without me. Now, if that's not crazy, if that's not pure evil, then I don't know what is. Right, I had to lighten it up a little bit there. But yeah, she was isolating me from everybody else as well, so I felt very alone. And another thing I found as well is that when I did tell anybody about the issues we were having, like my closest friends, they'd be like, "Whoa, what? You know, that's not good. You need to get out of there." And what would I do? I found myself defending her and sort of justifying her actions. Like, yeah, but she's going through a lot. I mean, she's really depressed, and you know, she's missing her son. Making excuses for her. Now, if you find yourself in a situation where you're doing the same, or any of this resonates, get out. Get out. There'll be more videos on narcissists and how to handle them or how to get out of there at another time. I mean, we're going to strictly keep this to just the story for now, but I will get deeper and do more videos on what to look out for, how to overcome it, how to deal with it afterwards, because They're the hardest relationships to get over, they really are, because they literally destroy your soul. They've sucked it dry, where there's nothing left of you. You are a shell of who you was, and you've got to build yourself back up, but get over this addiction, because they become that addiction, an addiction to you. Like I said, how high she built me up and then slowly take it away. Where, you know, and it become a reward system as well. Where, like, they're hot, steamy sex, do you know what I mean? It'd be like when she got her way, and she's enforcing me to be her slave, basically. So I think, oh, I did that for her, and she was all right as rain, and so you do more of that, but then that's not enough. So then you got to keep upping your game all the time. Where I was literally looking after her, having, you know, doing everything for her. Looking back, I think, what the fuck was you doing? But at the time, I didn't know any better. I had no idea. I just wanted her to be better. I loved her. I really loved her, and I just wanted her to be happy. And I was going to do anything I could to make her happy. And it got to the point where basically every other word out of her mouth was trying to pull me down. She was always trying to knock my confidence all the time, and I'd just shake it off. I mean, like, getting back to watching Game of Thrones, she was like, "You look like that Khal Drogo, don't you? Like Jason Momoa." Oh, well, cheers, don't. Later on down the line, she's like, "Oh, that's Samwell Tarly, that big fat one who's mates with Jon Snow. You look like him." I'm like, "Do I, duck?" And I was pretty good at deflecting. You know, whenever she was attacking me verbally, I didn't let it bother me. But it was constant, so I can see even the most confident person, it's going to break you down. And it probably was wearing me down, even though I was good at deflecting all that. "Oh yeah, I look just like Samwell Tarly from Game of Thrones." "Of course I do, duck." I'm like, "Oh, it must be all them pies or whatever." Which the irony was, I mean, I lived with her for 3 months, so this escalated very quickly. And I think it escalated as quickly as it did because I pushed back. I'd be like, "No, I'm not putting up with that." So then she'd have to up the ante and tug on the heartstrings, things like that. So this could be a very slow process, which I've had before, very slow. But it can, I mean, this was pretty quick in the end, like, say, 3 months living with her, and it went from one extreme to the other, where, like I said, she was trying to cave me head in, she were evil, and just things trying to really, because she, like I said before, she figured me out. She knew all the ins and outs, so she was constantly messaging me, trying to learn who I am, what makes me tick, what excites me, what makes me happy, what am I insecure about, everything. She knew me like the back of her hand, so she knew exactly what to do, what buttons to push, when to bring me in, you know, make me feel loved, and then when to pull it back and take it away and just be downright evil. And I remember it come to a point this one time, so I was watching a film and I'm sat there on the sofa, and she went, and she starts taking her clothes off, and she had a very nice body, and she starts doing this dance for me. I'm thinking, oh, and she sort of like lured me onto the floor, so I'm laid down on the floor and she's doing this sexy dance for me, and I lowered my guard. Like I said, she was always trying to hit me or this, that and the other, and I think that annoyed her that I was quick. Like, she could never catch me properly, you know what I mean? I'd move my head or block it or, you know, whatever. And same with the bottles thrown at me and things like that. So she never actually physically hurt me because I managed to evade it or block it or whatever. But obviously, in this situation, I'd load my guard. I'd just see these big fake titties staring at my face. I'm thinking, oh, wow. And next thing you know, boom, kicks me straight in ribs. I'm like, oh, you fucker. She went to kick me again, so I swiped her from underneath, and I grabbed her, grabbed hold of her hands, just trying to headbutt me and all this, that and the other. And then from there it was just getting crazy again with bottles smashing, and I'm like ducking and diving. And then she's like, "I'm going to kill myself," all this, that and the other. And she just downed all this alcohol, and I'm trying to stop her. And then she's like, tonight I'm going to end it. So I end up staying awake. And she ended up falling asleep on the bed, and I stayed awake all night, just staring at her, just waiting in case she woke up and I fell asleep, and that she was going to do something while I was asleep. So I literally just stayed awake, and the whole time and all, she was just saying really hurtful things to me. And I'm just looking at myself thinking, why am I putting up with this shit? And then next thing you know, she's pregnant. And all these other things, anything she could think of to keep me around. I mean, I disappeared for a week. I says, I am not putting up with this shit any longer. I need time away from you. So I says, give me a week. I need a week away from you to recharge. Like I said, getting back to the cups, I was fucking empty. I was empty. And I even had a panic attack. I've never had a fucking panic attack in my life, but I had one. So I will just brain fog, everything you can think of. I was just depleted. And in that 3 months, so we're towards the end of that 3 months, I lost 3 stone in that 3 months. So again, thinking I'm coming home to a dead body, and my body's on fight and flight mode constantly. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm questioning everything, every thought I ever have, because she's constantly gaslighting me or putting me down. And it was hell. It was fucking hell. And so I have this week away from her, and I know for a fact she's going to punish me for it. I'm expecting it. But that was my boundary, that I was not going to, you know, I'd put down all my boundaries just for the sake of trying to save her all the time. But that was one I was firm on. I said that I'm having this week away from you. And then I ended up coming back. She talked me back around after this week. And she'd been at hospital all week. She'd hurt herself and I wasn't there to help her. And I'm thinking, at the time, like a fucking dummy. But again, I was questioning everything. So anytime I had a bit of doubt, thinking, well, hang on a minute. It was, how true is that? Do you know what I mean? But then I think, oh, it must be true, because I'm just going fucking crazy here. Because I genuinely thought I was going crazy, because she drilled it into me that I was. Which is all the gaslighting and that. So anyway, in the end, she ends up going away for a week. She goes to Poland and she's going to court trying to get a son. So I'm thinking, oh, I want to have a nice breather here. I then learn that the whole hospital situation didn't happen, but this come a bit later. So anyway, so she hints just as she goes away that she's pregnant, and she'd set this up about a week before. She's going, oh, I think I put a little bit of weight on, and little things she was doing to plant that seed. So then when she does drop the bomb on me, I'm like, oh, fucking hell. So sure enough, she's like, I think I'm pregnant while she's away. Next day, she does a test. I'm pregnant. And I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm having a child with an absolute psychopath. Not ideal. So then I'll go through all that emotion of, oh my God, I'm going to have a child. But then I also thought, oh, it's the hormones and the depression that she's going through. No wonder she's acting like a lunatic. So half of me was like, oh, I don't feel as bad, because it's like there's another reason why she's acting like a loony. But then the other side, I'm thinking, fucking hell, I'm having another kid to a woman. It's a nightmare. So I just can imagine my head's all over the place. And then another tiny part of me is thinking, this is full of shit. She's talking bollocks. It was a horrendous situation. But then a couple of days later, while she's away, next thing you know, she's been, I mean, she always talked about how violent her ex was and this, that and the other. And he was a monster. Well, next thing you know, apparently he gets these guys to go beat her up and rape her. Yeah. And I remember I was at work at the time when she said it, and I'm on another planet. I was like, what the fuck? And so, obviously, you know, the woman you love, and she's getting beat up and, you know, battered and raped. It's not a good time. Not a good thought. Not a good feeling. So I went through all that emotion, thinking, oh my God. But then the back of my mind at the same time, I'm going, this is bullshit. Then I'm feeling bad for thinking that way. I'm like, what if she's telling the truth? Then you're an absolute arsehole. Fucking brutal. It's brutal. And then a day later, she loses the child. And again, is she talking shit? Then I feel bad, thinking, God, if she's being serious and all this is the truth, then I've really fucked myself up here, and I'm a fucking arsehole for not believing her. So I'm like, what do I think? What do I believe? And then I've got to mourn this child that may or may not exist, thinking, oh my God, and think I can't help her because she's in another country and I'm stuck down here. And everything, you know what I mean? The amount of emotions I went through that week was unreal. It was crazy. It really was. And then I talked to a few close people. I had to get something off my chest, and they were like, it sounds a bit far-fetched. And I'm thinking, it does, but I believe it. If this had all jumped on me at once, I'd be like, you're talking shit, Doug. See you in a bit. But because it was so gradual and how she worked me and how she played me and ruined my mind, where I had to second guess everything I was thinking. She had me, and I believed everything more than I didn't. So all these emotions, and again, I'm losing more weight, and again, I'm a shell of a man. I'm not me anymore. I don't know who I am. I don't know what's going on. And then it just clicked. I went, you know what? I don't believe her. And this was brutal. I had to come out with it and tell her. I said, do you know what? All these things down to you being at hospital all week while I was gone, and then the pregnancy, the rape, the attack, the miscarriage, all these things. I said, other than a picture of a pregnancy test, which anyone can Google and send, or take a picture of somebody else's, I says, I've not had any shred of proof that any of this happened. And it killed me to say this to her, because I know how low she currently is if this was the truth. I really didn't want to say it, but I had to. I thought, enough's enough. I need something. I need something to know if she's telling the truth or not. And of course she went mental. After everything I've just been through, you're accusing me now of lying. So I'm thinking, I'm going to get it in the fucking neck when she gets back. And then I'm beating myself up thinking, how could you do that to her when she's going through all that? And anyway, I was in a bad way, and I spoke to somebody, and she told me, she says, do you know what? She sounds like somebody with a narcissistic personality disorder. And I went, you fucking what? What the hell are you on about? So she went, Google it. And then so I did. And whoa. It was alarm bells. Everything was dead on, word for word. And I'm like, shit. Then I got through all these other emotions thinking everything was a fucking lie. All this love, affection, and all this shit that she was feeding me, it was a lie. None of it was real. And for a time it was a beautiful lie, but it was a lie nonetheless. She didn't mean anything she ever said to me. It was all manipulation. It was all a way to control me. And I was, after all the shit I'd been through that week, and all these mixed feelings and emotions and thoughts and all that shit, this just topped it off. And all of a sudden I'm reading more, and I'm like, I become like obsessed on learning about all this, and I'm like thinking, is she? Again, I'm questioning myself. The information's there, and every word is word for word, dead on, and yet I'm still thinking, what if she's not? What if I'm the fucking arsehole here? It was bad, but then I sort of sat there and just sort of weighed it all up, constantly researching narcissists and all this, that and the other while I'm at it, because I had to be sure. And I just knew. I thought, yeah, she's... And I'll tell you another thing as well, right? So this is something that happened when things were golden, things were sweet as. I had a dream, right? So she was an angel at the time, but I had this dream where she came up to me, and I looked at her, I was like... And I remember I like peeled her face off. It was like a bit of loose skin, and I peeled it off, and underneath was a monster. And it was really unsettling, like for a day. I mean, dreams don't, nightmares, I don't give a shit. I'm fine after 2 seconds, thinking, oof, I'm alright. Well, that one stuck with me, it really did. And I thought, fucking hell. And then I can look back afterwards and think, God, that was my subconscious telling me, warning me. It was warning me. My subconscious was warning me, saying, get her. She is crazy. She is a monster. She's wearing a mask. What you're seeing is not who she is. She's pretending to be something else. And she was. Like I said, she'd studied me. She learned everything about me. And she'd become exactly what I wanted. The level of fucking insanity there that she went through to do that to me. So she literally morphed into this person that she knew was perfect for me, exactly what I was looking for. She became it. It's fucking crazy. So obviously I'm like, I need to get the fuck out of here. And I'd shifts at work where I only had like an hour window to get to hers. Fill me car with as much stuff as I could and get the fuck out of there. So all of a sudden I've got to devise an escape route, because I know it's not going to be easy. She's going to hunt me down and she'll go to the edge of the world to fucking find me and torture me some more. I knew it. So what I did was I staged moving to Scotland. I told her I was moving to Scotland, and the reason why I'd been a bit off with her and questioning her and about lying and things like that, I said I did that purposely because I wanted to upset her, because I was already had my mind up that I got a new job in Scotland that was going to pay me well, and I couldn't say no, so I was going to move away. And I thought the only way it would be easier to be an arsehole to her, to break up, for me to go away. And as narcissistic as she was, she believed it. She was like, yeah, you're right, it is you. You were the fucking arsehole. So I had to sign it, I had to really carefully play this. Like, alright, let's make out I am the arsehole and I'm doing her a favour and I've got to go and I'm leaving. So I did. I went and filled me van with as much stuff as I could, and I left her a goodbye note saying I'm going to Scotland. And I remember in the rush, I was starving, I hardly had any time, I was in between shifts and this, that and the other, and I was eating a bag of crisps. Right, I did all the housework, I did everything. She was a lazy fucking sod. And I remember dropping a few crisps on the floor while I'm like scrambling to try and get as much stuff in this hour window I had. So I'm filling all my car, and I dropped a few crisps on the kitchen floor. And I went to pick them up, put them in the bin, and I went, what the fuck are you doing? Leave them there. So I did. And filled my van, filled my car even, and I got the hell out of there, and that was it. Sure enough, she come back a day later, and then she messages me. No, she didn't, she rung me, and she said, hello, alright. And she turned around and said, I seen your note, why did you leave me a note? And I said, well, I thought that'd be best, leave you a goodbye note, and something for you to, take in, soften the blow maybe. And I also told her that I was, the kids was moving as well, because I didn't want her to find the kids or anything. I was creating scenarios. I had to cover all ground. I thought, I can't have her find them or anybody. So I thought, if we all conveniently move away, then she's not going to find any of us. Even though she'd never met them, but as crafty and as sneaky as she was, she'd only had to have seen a picture of what they were wearing, school uniform, and find out what school it is and turn up there and maybe see if I'm going to be there or any. I had to cover all ground. I really did. So I says, yeah, I just thought I'd leave you a nice message and let you be. Now, tell a lie. The first thing she started off with was, why did you leave crisps on the floor in the kitchen? Bearing in mind, I allegedly accused her of lying about things like rape and being attacked and faking a pregnancy and a miscarriage. I mean, leaving a few crisps on the floor down here, really, compared to that. But no, she led with that. So I said, oh, I know, I'm such an arsehole, aren't I? How dare I do something like that? I said, clearly I'm just an arsehole. And she knew she weren't going to get on my skin. She needed to change tactics. So she went, why did you leave me the goodbye note? And so I said, I thought it'd be nice. So, goodbye. And that's literally what I said. I said, goodbye. I hung up 10 seconds later. Don't you want to hear my goodbye? I says, well, make it quick, though, because I need to get to sleep. So she went, I love you. And she was trying everything I could, knowing then what she actually was, I could see what she was doing. So she was trying to lure me back in, being dead sweet and all this, that and the other. But of course that wasn't going to work. So I said, goodbye. And then she woke up again and she went, are you crying? I'm talking to her like I'm talking right now. I'm like, no. And she went, oh, well, I miss you, I need you. I'm without you and my son now. I'm like, oh, well, I'm a bit of an arsehole, as you told me plenty of times, so you could do better. It's better for you that you don't see me. And, I just played along with it. And that were about it, really. So, yeah, that was deep. And, I was this arsehole, according to her. And I mean, the narrative was, I'm this massive fucking arsehole. And I used to say to her before as well, like, the way you treat me, the way you act like you hate me, and you don't even like me. I'm like, so why do you even want me around? And I used to say that regularly. And I remember, with this whole Johnny Depp and Amber Turd, or whatever her name is, I didn't really follow that. I don't care. But I was kind of curious because of what he was going through to what I went through. And I remember hearing a snippet of an audio or something like that, where he even said something along the lines of, well, if you don't like me, why do you keep wanting me around? Or words to that effect anyway. And I thought, fucking hell, that's straight out of my mouth. That's something I said. So, yeah, it just made me think. She never shit on my pillow, though, thankfully. But she was cray-cray. And I'll tell you another thing as well. Well, you know what the real kicker was? Is that all this about her son, how he'd been kidnapped, it was a lie. Her ex fled away with the child to get away from her. And I found a letter when I was getting all my stuff out as quick as I could. And I mean, I'm all about privacy. It's her business. Never interested in having a look before, but I thought I need to be sure. So I opened it up and it was there in black and white. She was full of shit. She was trying to kidnap the kid herself, and he managed to get the kid back. And because she was so mentally unstable and violent and all this, that and the other, he got the kid. So all that hard work and all this, that and the other to help her and to help her child was all a waste. She doesn't deserve her child. Crazy. So we'll wrap this one up anyway, but yeah, beware of the narcissist. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And I hope you take something away from this. I will do more videos diving into it, because there's so much to learn, so much to know with these people, and how to overcome it and get away from it and rebuild yourself. I mean, even now, I ended up falling for another one. Not to the same degree as she was, but again, highly manipulative and all this, that and the other. And that was a much longer relationship. It took a lot longer to come out, because she knew the score, she knew about that one, so she could play this, for longer, make me believe, even, as skeptical as I was. So, and since then, I'd say a very avoidant attachment style is very difficult for me, even now. And we're talking, that relationship was 6 years ago. Even now, it's going to be very hard for me to let somebody in. Very hard. you know, anyone gets close, I'll self-sabotage or anything like that, which, you know, I've been working on for a long time. I was seeing somebody last year where she was always kept at arm's length. She was constantly chasing me for months and months, and you know, she never really got me. So, you know, I'm too avoidant. Well, I do think I'm getting there anyway. So, you know, pain and trauma doesn't have to last forever. You can overcome them. We've all got our own dramas in our lives. This is just one of mine. So yeah, we'll leave that one there. If you've managed to stick around this long, then fair play to you. So like the video, drop us a comment. There will be more on narcissists, because I think this is a big one, and you know, some of these can be very subtle. So there's a lot of men out there I know are being abused in various ways, but it's subtle. Some of them don't even know they're being abused. So if I can just raise some awareness, and this video is probably a long time coming, because it's not something that gets talked about a lot, especially for men. It's all about women getting abused and, you know, domestic violence and all that sort of thing against women, which fair enough, that happens as well. But it's not far off the difference with it happening to men as well. It's just not talked about or anything done about. And I'm all about helping you guys, so as much as I didn't want to make this video, and I didn't really want to open up like this, it's probably essential, and if it can help anybody, then it was worth it, because I don't want anyone going through what I did then. So be the best you, and do it for you. Cheers.